that we did win. I believe 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 that we did win. All right, finish on three. 1, 2, 3, finish. Go.
The sounds of victory never get old for the Lincoln Golden Bears. Another huge win last Thursday night. We'll dive deep into that here on the Lincoln Playbook with the head coach of the Lincoln Golden Bears, Brad Wallace. And Coach, obviously, we'll get to the adjustments of having to switch the game late in the week in just a little bit. But first, the game in general. You bounce back after the loss, the tough loss out of the region against Montford. Huge win on Thursday night. Just talk about that W.
Well, I mean, number one, we went back to the basics.
Yeah.
Monday through Wednesday. I was supposed to say Monday through Thursday, but it was Monday through Wednesday, and I actually changed up a little bit. I said last week on the show that I took some things for granted as far as with my team.
Right.
We changed the way we did practice. We put a lot more starters on our scout team. And, I mean, we've had to bang around a little bit. Yeah, we took a chance, but it actually made us better on the offensive line. And I saw you could see the rewards on Thursday night.
Yeah, and that's another thing, like the changeover from Friday to Thursday. And as far as I understand it, that all happened on Wednesday, where you had to actually, make a call because of the weather, and there was a large chance for rain for them. It was homecoming for Hayden. They wanted to change it. That way their homecoming plans were dry. You agreed to change it at the last minute. Talk about everything that went into that decision.
Well, I mean, at first I got the call on Tuesday, and he just ran it by me, and I said, well, let me see what I can do.
Right.
And I told him by that afternoon, I said, I think I can make that happen if you want to do it on Thursday, which it actually changed up the way we had to do practice Wednesday.
Right.
We actually had to go half and half shells, half shorts and helmets, because I really didn't want to get our kids just flat out wore out.
Right.
And but I mean, it was a quick changeover, getting buses lined. I mean, changing everybody's plans. And I know some of my Lincoln people didn't get to make it to the game.
Right.
But we'll make it up for you on this Friday night.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things logistically that you have to kind of put into place at the last minute that a lot of people don't really know about. Talk about some of those things. I know you were frantically, making some calls, trying to get some things hurried up.
Well, you've got to get bus drivers.
Right.
And it's not just for the football team. It's for the band. It's for the cheerleaders. It's we're trying to get everybody's schedule changed around to where that we can leave early, and we had already kind of had it set up for where my class that I've got football players in third period, we could leave early during that class, and now they're having to take out of their class, a normal class on Thursday, which the teachers were awesome about that, and I appreciate them doing that for me. And I mean, it's a complete changeover. It seems like when you go from Friday to Thursday. I mean, and normally it's not a normal week, because normally if we're doing a Thursday night game, we start on Sunday afternoon, and then we venture all the way through, and we have it's just like a normal week. We just get an extra day off on the weekend, which that was another thing that we needed. I mean, I talked to one of our running backs this morning, and I said, how are you feeling? He said, man, I feel good, Coach. He said, those 3 days helped me out, and it was more like a blessing for us to have that game Thursday.
For sure. It's another region victory as well. Keeps you perfect, a perfect 4-0 in the region. That's got to be a very, very good place to be at this point of the year.
It is, and our plans as a football staff and our players, we want to win region, and that's our biggest goal right now that we're trying to meet before we get to the end of the season. And nothing stood in our way, but we've got a big contest coming up this next Friday night. It's going to be really tough, and it's going to put it on the line.
Absolutely. We'll talk a lot more about that, as well as their next game against Mortimer Jordan here on the Lincoln Playbook. Lots of sponsors on this show. One of them is Luxury Auto Parts. You can visit them at luxuryautoparts.com. Also, www.insurancedirectautos.com. You see the phone numbers on your screen, 205-763-1084 or 888-589-PARTS. Go visit Lee McLean and all of our fine friends over at Luxury Auto Parts and Lincoln. Back with more of the Playbook after the break. And we're back with the Lincoln Playbook. Lincoln in white at Hayden for homecoming. Coach, we talked about this being a Thursday night game. I'm sure the momentum was just as hot, though.
It was, and to be honest with you, I mean, I challenged our kids before this ball game. one thing I would challenge them with was being mature in this ball game and handling themselves and doing the right things and playing the game at a high level instead of playing down the competition. Because I mean, Hayden's record wasn't very good,
right?
But the thing that I kept watching on them on tape is they played so hard. You'll see them throughout the ball game. They're running around, they're flying around, they're trying to do the best they can. They're just a young football team right now, and I just didn't really want our kids to go out and just lay an egg right at the beginning, and they came out and struck quick.
Absolutely. You saw that touchdown there at the very beginning. It looks like they wanted to establish the run, but you guys did a great job stopping it.
We did, and that goes back to our scout team this week. And we put a lot of our starters, like I said, on our offensive scout team, and it helped our defense out this week. It made things faster for them and made them have to work even harder. And I love that play right there. And to be honest with you, I showed that to our offensive line. That was probably our best block play that we've had this year.
Absolutely.
And Mario Howard had another outstanding night, of course.
You talk about offense, defense, and special teams, and that's a key part of the game here, and they come up with a huge play right here.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Mason will kick the ball up there around the lights, and it gets to where it's lost for a minute.
Right.
And he does a great job for us, and I think he's averaging somewhere around 42, 43 yards a punt, and doing a great job for us.
That's such a great weapon because you see where you get the ball. You get the ball inside the 15-yard line, able to punch it in for the second score of the game.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, and that's being fast, and that's what I keep trying to. I like for our kids to play fast. I don't like for us to be in a lull at all at any time. And we're working to that. We hadn't fully got to that point, but we're getting to that point.
Absolutely. Here, once again, they try to go with the run to the inside, try to go with the run to the outside. Great defense to really scrape across that line and make sure everybody's playing the responsibility.
Yeah, we're trying to string that thing out, try to give it to our 12th man out on the sideline, and try to use that to our advantage. Good run out here by Runye Bell. I mean, he's a physical runner for us, and he helps us out, especially with Mario giving him a blow.
And it seems like it's a lot of that thunder and lightning, so to speak. With different running backs, you look at Alabama, you look at other teams in the NFL that have really kind of that two running back hit there, fast guy and power guy.
Yeah, and to be honest, we have three, but the other one's out right now. And I mean, if we would have had that third one this year, boy, you talk about a little different way we would have done things on offense.
Absolutely.
It's just. I mean, those two guys go both ways, and they play both sides of the ball. I mean, and that's what's so great about them. They keep coming out and they keep running just as hard every time.
You saw that touchdown there by the tight end. Just talk about the way those kind of plays develop. He's wide open there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I mean, and we do a lot of play action, and we try to. And I told our kids at the beginning of the year, we're going to set up our pass off the run, and we're going to do that every down. And every time there's a pass in there, there's going to be a ball fake at some point in time, or a ball read.
Right.
And Zay Caldwell's been doing a good job with that.
Exactly. And then here's another big time play to the flats, beats a couple men. That's another touchdown.
This is another kid that's come on. This is Danny. God, I can't.
Danny's good.
But Danny's been doing a good job for us at receiver, and he's kind of come on and helped us out toward the end of the season.
And he's got 2 touchdowns, I think, in the last couple of weeks.
I mean, and it's great that having him around and being able to rotate another guy in there, it helps us out.
Absolutely. 27-0 is your first half score. Lincoln Golden Bears in Hayden, getting a big-time lead. And, Coach, one of the big things that we talk about, especially at the half of every game, is the adjustment factor. Was there anything that you saw on film that they did and that they may not have done on Thursday night? Stay to script?
I mean, we go in at halftime, we're up like this. The main thing that I'm preaching to our kids is don't let up. I mean, we're not going to go out and we're not going to get into bad habits, or we're not going to play sloppy.
Right.
And that's the one thing that our kids did after we came back from the half, is we didn't go out and play sloppy. And then when we got our twos in, they went out and played just as hard as the ones did. So that was what I was most impressed with this week.
Exactly. The way that your team started out, and you start out playing great on offense, you start out playing really well on defense, you got a turnover, then you got a turnover on special teams. Well, was there almost any other way you could script it to make it be better? You pointed out that play in the first half where the offensive line blocked great, or is it, at this point, the motivation, is it more not what you can achieve, but hey, let's just continue to do what we've done?
Let's continue to do what we've done, and let's build on what we've done, and let's get better at blocking. Let's get better at tackling. Let's work on us and not worry about the teams that we're going to play. And I think that's one thing that I did last year. I worried about the opponent more than I did us.
Right.
And this year I've really been a stopping on, hey, we've got to be better tacklers. We've got to be better blockers. We've got to run to the football. We've got to be aggressive. I don't want any loafs on the field. I don't want any lulls. flaws in the game, and that's things that I always pick our kids throughout practice. Hey, we can't have this. So and they're coming on strong, and toward the end of the season, that's a good thing to be happening right now.
Do you have a philosophy when it comes to big leads about, the way you want to handle the third quarter? You see a lot of times where, starters, even in college and the pros, they'll play even when there's big time leads, knowing that there's that thought in everybody's mind of, hey, this guy can't get hurt. Is there a philosophy on that?
Well, the only thing with our team right now, and to be honest with you, and I don't try to run the score up by no means. The thing, I've got a young offensive line that need a lot of reps, and we're fixing to get into our meat of our schedule toward the end of the schedule.
Right.
And they've got to mature. They've got to grow up. There's got to be some things that they've got to get used to a full-quarter ball game. I mean, this week, that's probably what's going to wind up happening. And that's what I work through in the third and fourth quarter. So I try to get these kids out on the field, and I try to get them tired.
Right.
And I want them to be tired and learn how to play through that. And that's pretty much my philosophy on the second half of the games. If we've got a big-time lead, somewhere around 40 points, that's when I'm going to start pulling the dogs off, and then we'll go ahead and start rotating our young guys. But I really want our ones to get winded during the game. I don't want them to just be there. Right.
Big-time lead for Lincoln, 27-0 at halftime. The fans over at Hayden Stadium got to hear great performance by the Lincoln High School Marching Band. You will hear the same right now. And second half highlights here on the Lincoln Playbook with a big 27-point lead. You start out hot in the third quarter.
That's right, and that's the main thing that I wanted to start off in the second half is I wanted us to start the second half like we did the first. Just start fast and put it in the end zone and get back in our rhythm and get to where we play like that at all times.
Nice Willie May style catch over there by Jamichael Baker.
It really was, and I mean, that kid has come a long ways in this 1 year. I mean, last year he didn't get as many touches as he's getting this year, and it seems like every time he gets the ball, it's magic coming out.
And Zay Caldwell, he didn't have to use his legs a lot in this game, but in the second half he shows, hey, he can still do it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and sometimes I wonder if he's even giving me the high gear yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just he's in a coast mode, but he's still a lot faster than a lot of people are.
Excellent, and his arm has gotten a lot better too. He's got 2 touchdown passes in this game as well.
That's right, and that was one of the things that we messed up with Mulford last week is we didn't have any passing yards whatsoever. Mulford did a great job making a stumble there, and we just had to handle ourselves in mature fashion this week and get ourselves better.
Absolutely. You have a 48-point lead at this point, and you now know that it has to completely change the game plan for Hayden because they're really just trying to get on the scoreboard, and your twos come in, they do a great job as well.
They do, and we practiced them this week just like we did our ones. They actually got in the rotation. We were trying to wind our ones during practice, and that gave us an opportunity to work with these younger guys, and they actually came out and did a great job for us.
Absolutely, and a lot of times in these situations, your JV guys, some of the guys that are rotating in with the varsity guys are all playing starters on the next level. So to be able to get this Friday night experience and get some players that are the ones for their respective team is pretty good too.
And that's one thing that we didn't get to do last year. And I mean, let's take our offensive line last year. They didn't get many snaps at all as far as in a varsity ball game. So that's the reason I'm having to play so much right now with these varsity guys.
48-0 is your final score. Lincoln with a huge win on the road, spoiling homecoming for Hayden. I don't know if this goes into the thought process at all. Do you put any stock of, hey, they scheduled us for homecoming? Not necessarily as a disrespect thing, but you always want to, at the beginning of the year, take a game that you think you might win. Does that play into it at all, or is it just let's go out and do our thing? Not
really. I mean, and that's the one thing. I always talk about distractions. Yeah. I'll talk about distractions that'll kill us and distractions that maybe get us overconfident or something like that going into a game. And what I've tried to do with these kids, especially like this past Thursday night, is I just basically told them, hey, it's homecoming for them, but we got an opportunity to go out and play the game, and it's basically we can turn it into our homecoming because we got ours spoiled last week too, and our kids just came out and they played hard. It was a very mature atmosphere with our kids, and I enjoyed watching them play the whole night.
We saw a lot of plays from whether it's JaMychal Baker, saw a lot of plays from Danny Bradford. Are there any guys that maybe didn't make the highlights there that had a spectacular game Friday night?
Well, I think our linebackers, KJ Collins and Therese Ellis and Austin Threet, that is one part that we've been working on with our guys all year long. I mean, that was a spot that we lost a lot of our seniors in last year. And plus, moving Mario out to a safety position, they gave the spot to a bunch of young guys that's never played in a varsity football game, and that was one of the things that we've been working on this week with them. Is they actually took a step forward this week, and that's one thing that I'm gonna keep harping on this week. Hey, we did this week. Now let's go ahead and let's take another step, because they've got a big ball game coming up.
Right. From everything I've seen on film, this team looks completely different than the one that started week one. You know, it looks like they're executing a lot more, getting some bigger plays. What are some of the things you've seen, some tangible things that you've seen that you could say, hey, this is where we've gotten a lot better? Well,
number one, offensive line. I mean, I'm their coach, but I'm no more sitting here bragging on them.
For sure, right.
But those guys, I mean, when we started out, I think I started out in the spring, I walked up and I said, this is a football.
Yeah.
And that's where I started with them. And they all joked and played with it right at the beginning, but when I set it down, I said, no, that's where we're starting.
Yeah.
And but we've learned a lot of football with those guys all the way through the year. And I'll be real honest with you, our receivers, I mean, I call them the four horsemen, because you've got Mario, you've got Runye, you've got JaMychal, you've got Zay. I mean, you've got all this speed that's out there on the edges, and we can either hit in the middle or we can go out on the edge with it. And I really see our offensive side of the ball. Defensively, I mean, Justin Knight and Zay Caldwell, they're doing a good job at corner right now. Devontae Whiteside's working, getting better at free safety. I just see overall we're changing our demeanor as a football team, and the speed and how we play the game.
Right. Everybody always talks about, you know, the best ways to get better when you lose. And one of the things you've always preached is even when you win, and even when you win in situations like this, you have to find ways to get better. Talk about some of the things that you want to see this team, you know, get better at as the year goes along.
Well, the main thing with us is tackling, and I know that's hard to say after a big win, but I mean, I'm not a big fan of the arm tackle. I mean, I want to wrap up, and I want good solid tackles every week. I really don't like the sling tackling stuff. So that's one thing that I am working hard on with our kids right now, and of course ball handling. I mean, we had one ball game where we've had a bunch of major fumbles in, and it got us beat. So we came back off of that, and we worked on ball handling, and I mean basic fundamentals, and that's one thing that I see as a head coach now. Is each week, it's not about the team that you're fixing to play. It's what can you improve with the group that you've got.
Right.
How can we make ourselves a better football team? How can we be fundamentally more sound? And what can we do better each week on Friday night?
Absolutely. This show is brought to you by a lot of great sponsors, and we'll talk about, you know, everybody that Lincoln plays. But I'll tell you what, Lincoln High School has a lot of support, and a lot of it comes from the Lincoln Booster Club. Any prospective member is welcome to attend their meetings. They meet every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. at Rick's Crossroads Cafe on the corner of Highway 77 and 78 up on the hill. Go visit the Lincoln Booster Club. They support head coach Brad Wallace, the team, the coaching staff, Lincoln football, and all sports at Lincoln High School. We're back with more of the Playbook after the break. And we're back with the Lincoln Playbook off a huge win, a 48-0 win on the road. You now have another big-time road game and essentially what has become the region championship against Mortimer Jordan. You guys are 4-0 in the region. Mortimer Jordan's 4-0 in the region. They're actually 6-0 on this season. The number 3 ranked team in the state of Alabama in Class 5A. So obviously it's a huge game.
Well, number one, the first stat that comes out with Lincoln is, and I've always talking about our program, is the 15-51 ratio from I think it's 1984 that they've been keeping up with that, and we've only won 15 games against ranked opponents. It's time for us to change that with our program. And that's the thing. That's the kind of the mindset that I'm gonna go with our kids this week. Mortimer Jordan's got a great football team. We actually, since we played on Thursday night, we actually got to go to Alexandria and watch them play. And the thing that catches my eye with them is is they're running at all times.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's in between the play. And when they break from the huddle, they sprint out to the huddle. I mean, and they're always sharp at all times. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to stay. We're going to have to stay on our toes at all night because they do play like a number 3 or 4 team in the state of Alabama. And we've got to go out there and we've got to match their competitiveness. One
of the things that Mortimer Jordan did against Alexandria is they got down, and Alexandria put 3 touchdowns up on them really quick. They actually had a lead, a 9-point lead. You see the way Alexandria's moving the ball here, and then their quick strike offense scored 49 unanswered points.
Well, and the thing that I kept watching with Mortimer Jordan too is, yeah, Alexandria got ahead of them, but I never saw that sideline ever get down.
Right.
I mean, the whole time you could see their guys. They were picking each other up, and I mean that shows that they've got a great team unity over there, and we've got to match that. I mean, and I keep saying that, but I mean, to be able to play good football teams, you got to come out there and you got to play at a high level of football.
Absolutely. And another thing that I kind of took away from this, I'm sure you did as well, is, hey guys, if we do get up Friday. Alexandria got up Friday, and so it kind of dials you in a little bit further in, knowing that, hey, this game is not over until the clock strikes 0.
Well, luckily we've already had one of those games.
Right.
We had Alexandria back in week 3, if I'm not mistaken, and it was 14-0, and we let them have 24 unanswered points in the first half of the game, and we know what happens when you play a good football team. What can happen in one quarter if you go out there and you just say, all right, we got 14 points, we're going to relax.
Right.
Which our kids, they've seen that already. And I'm going to be preaching that all week this week, and conditioning is going to be a major factor in this ball game. I think playing full-quarter ball and playing at a high tempo is going to wear our kids a little bit. It's going to wear on both sides. So we've got to be in phenomenal shape. We've got to play with great intensity the whole ball game.
And it was one of those situations, to me, it seems like that you can use this win, lose, or draw as a learning experience, that you can kind of see where you measure up, see where you stack up, because by all indications, Mortimer Jordan is a playoff team, so you can count this kind of as a playoff sort of game for you guys too.
Well, and even the bus ride, it's going to be an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I mean, every part of this ball game is going to be like a playoff game.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll bring a bunch of people to the game, and I'm sure their side will be packed because of where they are ranked. I mean, it's going to be a great experience for our kids.
Well, we talked about how this is essentially the region championship, for Class 5A, Region 6. Just take a look at the region standings here. As we head now into the 7th week of the season, you kind of start to see the separation between other teams. When you see yourselves right up there with Mortimer Jordan, what's the mindset? What's the atmosphere like? And you take a look at the way the region is going to start playing itself out.
Well, I mean, the major thing we have 2 losses, but I'm going to tell you something. Those 2 football teams that we played and had the losses to, Pell City is a good football team, and Montford's a good football team.
Right.
I mean, those were 2 challenging football teams for us during the season, and it's given us opportunities to play teams like that. We're going to get up to the tempo of Mortimer Jordan and people like that. But I'm going to tell you something. Alexandria is no pushover. I mean, when you go through them, I know that they're a little bit down right now, but they'll pick themselves up and they'll be high in the region by the time the end of the season.
And you see some teams that you've played. You also see some teams that you haven't played yet. You talk about the Moody's of the world and stuff like that. As you look at this region altogether, you had to see a pretty strong region there because, like you said, Springville just beat Anniston. Anniston has been a strong team in the past. You talked about Alexandria being good. This region overall is really awesome.
Well, I see a lot of our teams in our region getting better throughout the season, and you can see that. I mean, Springville coming back and beating Anniston this week. That was a big one. I thought Anniston would come away with a big win there, but I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a tough region, and I mean, it shows week in and week out. You've got to be on your toes. You got to be ready to go, and if you let off just a little bit, you'll wind up with an L on your schedule.
Final question: talk about just the mindset, the momentum, and the message to the team, the overall general theme of the team as you head this week into practice.
Well, the main thing is we've got to be mature about this one this week, and we've got to know that, hey, this is playoff. This is the game that's probably going to choose our seeding for this year.
Right.
Whether we're going to be number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I mean, it's according to how we handle this, and what we're going to do during practice is going to determine how we're going to play on Friday, and we've got to take a mature approach to it this week.
Coach, thank you very much. A huge game against Mortimer Jordan. I know you got a lot of preparing to do with your coaching staff and with your ball club. Go out to Jimmy Trotter Field out there and go see the Lincoln Golden Bears take on Mortimer Jordan. It is the Class 5A Region 6, basically the region championship. It's a huge game for both teams. We'll break it all down next week right here on the Lincoln Playbook. We'll see you next week. Take care.